I would like to introduce you to Dr. Andrew H. Libert. Did you know that the simple act of gardening is something that can soothe and support mental, emotional, and physical well-being, in addition to the obvious growth of plants, fruits, vegetables, pollinators, etc. Not only that, but everyone can garden while using a few items that you may already have or use at home. And that's why Andrew has such a collection of things on the table, because he's going to show you that it doesn't take a lot of investment. You can use what you already have at home to start gardening on your own. Dr. Libert is a residential faculty member of the Department of Biology at Scottsdale Community College. Before moving to Phoenix, he spent 3 years as a faculty member at Methodist University in North Carolina, where he taught courses in introductory biology, botany, and plant taxonomy, and upper division courses in conservation, ecology, and plant physiology. He graduated from The Ohio State University with a doctorate in evolution, ecology, and biology. And before attending OSU, he completed his master's degree from Brigham Young University, where he also earned his bachelor's degree in general biology. Dr. Libert grew up in the Pacific Northwest and loves doing anything outdoors. He is particularly fond of hiking, fly fishing, and playing the guitar. So help me welcome Dr. Andrew Libert.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's so good to be here. You never know if you're going to have seats filled or what things are going to look like, and you've just given me so much excitement. I really love doing this. I love being able to talk about plants and just biology in general with anyone that will listen. My wife has to tell me to shut up, so I'm so glad that you're here with me, and we can talk for the next half an hour about plants and gardening and some of the exciting benefits available to us in Arizona, and of course some of the challenges, which I'm sure maybe you're thinking more about. I just am really grateful to be here, and I hope that whatever happens, I can offer you something, some little detail, some little insight that maybe gets you going, you know what, I can do it, and I want to do it, and I'm going to give it a try, because working with and interacting with plants is amazing. So, plants, let's just talk about plants for a minute. I want to appreciate them and really think about how connected we are with them. They permeate everything we do. Every aspect of your life in some way, shape, or form is connected to plants in some way. And any really good teacher is never going to just talk at you for 25 minutes, so I want to hear from you, and I'm going to ask you to talk to your neighbor and then give things back to me. So just right off the bat, we're here to talk about gardening, but what are some of the ways you recognize you're connected to plants every day, your everyday life? It might be stuff you're not even really thinking about or notice every day. Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. So we're talking about just being outdoors, being in contact with things, and how that affects our health. That's really, really interesting. Anything else? I mean, we know food. Food is a major connection, right? And maybe that's what we're talking about gardening. What else we got? Clothing. You're wearing stuff made from plants right now. Great. Clothing. Keep going. Let's run with that idea. Buildings, right? Wood for fuel, for fire, for building structures, the furniture, everything. You live in a thing constructed with plant material, right? All the time. Shade, oh, big time. Love it. Skincare, absolutely. I love that. What else we got? Medicine. We could talk about this all day. Plants are the greatest chemists in nature. It is unbelievable. Plants can't run away. Plants can't get up and move. They find ways to reproduce without walking around to find a mate. How do they do that? Incredible chemistry. Aspirin, discovered from the bark of willow trees. We can produce it synthetically. Rubber for the first rubber tires from the rubber plant. Okay? Opium poppy, a very controversial plant. What can we do with it? We can make morphine. The strongest painkiller we use in modern medicine, a little bit of taking that chemistry sideways, and what do we have? Heroin, right? It's incredibly powerful stuff. that we're working with. You probably drink tea and coffee almost every day. You're affecting your brain with plant chemicals all the time. So they're incredible and they're everywhere. We also sometimes overlook just their aesthetic beauty, right? They make the world beautiful to us. They make us happy. This is good for your health. You enjoy them recreationally as you hike or you walk around or whatever it is that you enjoy to do, right? We decorate and bring trees into our homes certain times of the year, and that makes us happy. So there are so many components and ways that plants are connected to you every day, all the time. Ultimately, whenever I have students that feel like, okay, I got it, I can get him. What about my cell phone or something else, right? And they're trying to think about some piece of technology. Well, a lot of the energy that you and I use comes from the combustion of fossilized plant material. Carbon sources and other natural resources that we consume that were formed over millions of years. So ultimately, I win, and I can find a way to connect plants to your life and how you support it. It's incredible. Okay, so thinking about the aesthetic, the mental health components, the health benefits of being and working with plants, and of course, hopefully getting some tasty food, if that's what you're interested in, gardening is a fantastic avenue for interacting with and engaging with plants. What I really want you to take away from it, I'm sure some of you garden maybe to some degree already. If you live in a one-bedroom apartment and all you have is a balcony and a few windows, you can garden. You have zero extra room in your budget, you can garden. You don't have to think about it as some huge, large scale, I need land, I need boxes, I need raised beds, all this stuff. That stuff is great and you can enjoy it and embrace it, but I want you to know on any budget and in any kind of space you can enjoy gardening and the benefits of gardening and working with plants. So, let's move into a little bit of a basic thing. Again, I don't want to just talk at you. So I want you to think, there are so many varieties of things we can grow and their needs and all that. That gets really hairy and confusing. Let's just dial it back and ask ourselves, what are the primary things all plants need? So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, ask you to talk to your neighbor or someone next to you, and then we'll have a little discussion. What are the key components all plants need to survive? My third grader knows this, so I know you know it too. Then I want you to ask yourself, what do you think are the key benefits to gardening in Arizona? Yes, there are some key benefits and things that make us unique here. And then what do you think are the key challenges to gardening in Phoenix, right? Gardening on the surface of the sun, what it feels like, right? That's what my kids say when they introduce themselves to, we just moved here in August, and they're like, welcome to the sun. So take a minute. What are the key things all plants need? What are the pros and what are the cons, you think? The biggest obstacles to gardening successfully here, right here where we live. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Talk to your neighbor, and then we'll regroup. All right. Okay, let's regroup. I'm excited to hear from you. I will tell you, if you were in my class, I'd be all up in your biz, getting in the conversation with you, but they've told me I can't wander out and join you there in the audience. Okay, let's start with the basic things all plants need. This isn't meant to be a hard question, but we're just getting started. What do you need? Okay, we know we have light requirements, we have water requirements. What else did I hear? Nutrients, minerals. Yeah, what? Yeah, care and love, I love that. Yeah, sing a song to your plant, talk to it, read it a book at night. Okay, any other key things? We've got minerals, nutrients, water, light. Okay, what? Yes, oh man, poof, you would get bonus points in my class, right? They need carbon dioxide. Thankfully, are we really worried about providing it? Do you have to supply it? No, but you are so right, right? The woody mass of a tree, all of the tissues on any of these plants, the carbon that went into those molecules, that came out of the air. Most people, it's a fun study, they're graduating college, they grab them at commencement, they ask them this question, and nobody knows. Like, where did the mass for this plant come from? And they're like, I have no idea. It was carbon dioxide. Yes. This is another one of the key components, right, about freshening your air, trying to regulate temperatures. You grow a bunch of vines around your front door, the temperature there is going to be noticeably different than just having the sun pounding on the front of your house there. Awesome. Okay, Thankfully, we'll leave CO2 aside because it's all here and it's great. So that gets kind of into one of the benefits. Let's start with the benefits. What do you think are some of the key advantages or nice things we have an opportunity for gardening here in Phoenix? Anybody come up with anything? What? It's peaceful? Oh, great. Yes. What about the environment here do you think maybe offers an advantage to a gardener? Okay, you can grow stuff here year round. That's what I'm hearing. That is amazing, right? I lived in Ohio, I lived in North Carolina, I lived in Seattle. You can't do that everywhere. You can enjoy this and you can enjoy eating stuff you grew year round here. Now there's some challenges, but you can do it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. We actually have 3 growing seasons here. So it's not some big, long, drawn-out thing, but you can plan it. You could, if you want to, we're getting close to the kind of spring season, you could start planning and getting some stuff ready now to plant in February that you could be eating in 3 or 4 months. So we have to work with these short windows, but you can do it year-round. That's amazing. I consider that a major bonus. Anybody got anything else? Like big bonuses for gardening in Phoenix? Are we worried about light availability and other things like that? No, okay? We've got so much of it, we've got to manage it as one of the things we've got to be really careful of. What about citrus? I am so excited to live in a state where we can grow citrus. Agriculturally, we're one of only a few states that do it, right? Florida and California, a lot more so. But in terms of commercial citrus production, we're one of just a few states. So that's exciting. For me, the idea of like plucking an orange off of a tree and taking it in and eating it that I grew myself is really exciting. So if you like that variety of stuff, that's another big bonus. Okay, so what are the big challenges? We know what plants need. We've got a water problem, and we've got an excessive light problem. Most people don't really think about that. Plants are absolutely damaged by excess light. It is totally possible for this to scramble and really damage the molecular machinery of plants if they don't have the access to actually channel that light energy through the reactions of photosynthesis and other stuff, especially if they're limited on light. So we're not getting into the weeds on photosynthesis, but for plants to take in that CO2 through the leaves to build sugars, to grow and produce flowers and fruits, they're also giving up a lot of water. This is a big trade-off. So to absorb CO2, they're losing a lot of water, and here they lose it really fast. And that can become a challenge if you're dealing with a lot of light issues. So I'm going to go through some kind of key categories. We're going to talk about soils, watering, light, all this stuff, and I'm just going to try to give you some tips about what's going on around here and try to show you some resources you can use to get involved with all that stuff. Okay. Yes. You guys are the best audience, by the way. Usually I just get like cricket chirping sounds when I ask, right? You guys have been so great. Okay, let's talk about soils. The soils in Phoenix are a little bit challenging. It also totally depends on what you want to do. I have 3 native species up here. This wolfberry, a baby saguaro. Isn't it adorable? Takes in the wild, that might take 20 years to get there. We grew it at SCC. We got it there in like 5, not 20. This might be more like 10. Here's an agave. So if you want to grow native stuff, of course, you're going to be in business. Where can you get native seeds? You can get them from the Maricopa Seed Bank. Did you know that existed? Maybe not. I've got a little thing up here in a QR code. You can get free seeds from the SCC campus and other community colleges around the county, which is awesome, if you want to grow some native stuff. So if you're in for this for the looks and the beauty and the whatever, go for it. Go plant some native stuff, and you're going to be in business with the soils that we've got here. You're going to add a little bit of nutrient to it. Generally, the soils here are alkaline. That means they're a little more basic. For your average vegetable stuff, you need more of a neutral pH. Changing the acidity of soil is hard. So you're going to add some things to it. You're going to get potting soil. You're going to use compost, and you can work that stuff out. You don't have to be an animal and say, okay, to successfully garden, I've got to start composting and deal with that. You don't have to commit to it. You can find this stuff. You can go find what you need. Compost, I will plug, is just kind of the magic ingredient, because the other thing we deal with here, we have clay, and sometimes we have sand. Clay particles are the finest soil particles. They fit together so tightly that they restrict water drainage. Sand are the largest and coarsest kind of soil particles that we deal with, and so water moves through them extremely quickly. Compost, and I have a little bag of it here, right? This is broken down organic matter through awesome biological processes, acts as a buffer for this tight and closely packed in clay stuff. It helps to loosen it up. So to reach a happy medium and let your water soak in, be absorbed, but drain. And for the soil stuff, it helps to tighten it up a little bit. So compost will be one of your best friends gardening here, okay? Yeah, changing the pH on your own is difficult. You know, you can get a good combination of compost, peat moss, vermiculite, and go to a store, you're going to be able to find what you need and you're okay. It's also a reason why a lot of people do raised beds around here, because maybe you run into some of the sedimentary rock that we've got under here and stuff. I always wondered, why aren't there more basements in such a hot place? Now I know why, right? It can be really difficult to get in there and do what you need to do. So raised beds are really easy to construct. You can do it at a really low cost. You can find recycled lumber. You can get blocks to get things in place. Less than $50, you could have a 6 by 12 foot garden box if you wanted to get going. Maybe you're not thinking about a garden bed or you want something small. You can start growing stuff in anything. This is a coffee mug. You could save your milk jugs. You could use plastic Solo cups. You could take a toilet paper roll, which we all produce, fold in the ends of it, prop this thing up, put some soil in it, and you could start growing plants in it. I have all kinds of stuff up here. My wife and I love these felt kind of containers here. This has rocks in it to help it drain. This is super cheap, and what I like is I can move it. So maybe my plant is getting a little too much sun here or there, and I need to make an adjustment because this is a hot place. Here's another one. We grow potatoes in these, which is really fun. I've got all kinds of stuff. You got to make sure, though, you're going to add holes to drain it. So you need to make sure you can get water draining out of here. You're going to get fungal problems and other issues. This is recycled Tupperware. It's not fancy, it's not pretty, but it makes a perfect little greenhouse. Put a little paper towel in there that's damp, get your seedlings going, close the lid on this, it will trap in moisture, something that's very hard to do here, and you're off and running. So I want you to know you can be really creative, and there's really, the sky is the limit in terms of size or shape or what you want to do. You just got to make sure you got the drainage in there. Okay. Let's think about light availability and light locations. This takes some experimentation. This takes trial and error. What you got to do is think about what is available to me. If you're in an apartment or condo and you have a window, watch the window. Take a picture of it in the morning, the midday, and the afternoon, or just kind of pay attention to how the light moves through it, how much light you're getting. If you're thinking about a certain area of your yard, is it getting crushed by afternoon heat? Or is it getting the first light of the day? You want to maximize morning light. I know it sounds different, like, how is it different? Yes, in the afternoon, it is punishing to plants. We see big differences in nature in terms of the distribution and abundances of different species based on whether they're exposed to light in the morning or the afternoon. Afternoon sun, you know it, I know it. If you're uncomfortable and we're uncomfortable, the plants are uncomfortable, right? So maximize morning light. For your basic vegetable average stuff, you usually want about 6 hours of good daylight. So you want to try to find an area where you can get it. If you're worried you have too much or you need to limit it, think about planting under a tree or an area that you know gets a little shade. You could also purchase shade cloth, like a 50% shade cloth that you could drape over your plants and use to try to reduce a little bit of the intense heat that they're getting. Again, it also depends on what you want to grow. Some things really need a lot of light, some things need less, some things are shade tolerant. So I wish we could go through all those nuances, but really you have to start with, what's my goal and what am I doing? Do I want something to eat? I make pizza. I love baking, so I like making pizza and breads. I love having rosemary, thyme, basil, and all this stuff that I can just go out on my deck, grab a few, chop it up. Oh man, it's so amazing to be able to go bring in and taste like the fresh ingredients that you grew yourself, and it's extremely satisfying. You will be like rejoicing, okay? So ask yourself, what is it I really want? Do I just want some green plants to add variety and beautify my yard? Think about going native. There'll be less work for you. If you're really after those vegetables or whatever else, you just think about it. And there are all kinds of guides, and I've got a big stack of these. I've got other stuff I'll try to direct you to. So you just find really good online resources and you go, okay, I'm interested in cucumber. Well, there's one kind of cucumber here that grows really well. Other ones are more difficult. So you just ask yourself, what is it I really want? And then how am I going to go about getting started? Watering. Watering, I won't talk about too long. We all know that plants need water, but you can do it incorrectly, right? Again, it depends on what you're watering and where you're working with it. I would say the key thing to take away is low and slow. You can memorize that. I can memorize it. I would rather you drip a hose slowly over an hour onto a plant than just trying to flood this thing and leave it. Here, without the humidity, water evaporates really quickly. So if you flood something quick, it's not going to be able to absorb as much of the water, and it's not going to push the root system to move deeper into the soil. It's going to spread out and try to stay on the surface to maximize that water in the first few centimeters of the soil layer before it's gone. That's what the saguaros do. They have these incredible rooting systems that are very shallow. And you want to try to encourage your plants to grow deeper, more stable root systems so they can secure themselves and maximize that water. So low and slow is the key. For trees, you want to think about 3 feet of depth, shrubs about 2, your herbaceous stuff about 1 foot deep is what you're going for. You can also try to modify the soil or create a basin. So if you can add a lot of water and you can keep it in an area, it will reduce evaporation, and it's not running off and going somewhere else where you don't need it. It's maximizing the benefit to your plants. You can buy really cheap drip hoses that you can attach to a normal hose, and you can get started with a drip system really easy. Again, that might not be what's most beneficial for what you're growing. It depends on what you want to do, but you can get started doing it really, really easy. You also want to pay attention to the weather, of course, right? This week, you wouldn't need to water stuff like you would 2 weeks ago. We had some really good moisture this week. So pay attention. And again, it's an experiment. You've got to watch your plants and see how they're responding and respond to their needs. Watering in the morning is also the best, again, to reduce the evaporative challenges. So maybe you know all this stuff and you're like, okay, get on with it. If you really want to be green, you could collect rainwater. And set out a basin, collect rainwater, or have barrels that you can divert rainwater to. Whatever you live in could totally support your garden. I have a friend who's super green. When she's warming up the shower in the morning, she has a bucket in there. And she takes that water and uses it in her garden, so it's not just running down the drain. But she is a self-proclaimed hippie, so she's very extreme, but I really respect that she's being creative to find a way to not waste any water. Okay, I want to talk about planting at the right time and planting the correct varieties. So again, we have 3 growing seasons here. So you got to find resources and instructions for you, like a local guide. You can't even go just based off of state of Arizona. The topography and the geological differences and temperature and everything we deal with here, you can't just say Arizona guide works for me. You need something right here in Phoenix that works for you, Scottsdale. You know what I mean. In the valley, you need stuff and resources for this zone. So again, we have 3 planting seasons, which means you can be enjoying yummy stuff all the time and stay as busy with this hobby as you want. The other thing I'll recommend is if you're thinking about tomatoes and there's different lengths to production and development, always go with the shorter length. In Phoenix, always go with the shorter duration of time to development. That's what you want to do. So if it comes down to just a couple things you're picking from, go with the short length. So we have the cool season crops, that's September to March, but that overlaps with this warm season thing that's about to start from February to May. So you can, again, be enjoying this all the time. And then we have the monsoon planting for the later summer and early fall. The last thing, I'll just say the variety matters. What I mean by that is there's, you can grow squashes and watermelons and, like I said, cucumbers and all this fun stuff. There's a lot of things you can grow here, but again, there are different varieties. I mentioned the cucumber before. Some do well here, some don't. So you want to think about it. It absolutely matters. So don't just go grabbing any kind of pea or this or that. The variety that you select is important. Talk to someone or go to a local seed bank and get going. I wanted to say just a couple of quick plugs, and then we're going to talk about my specialty, which is plants and pollinators, to wrap up. There is the Maricopa County Seed Library. So if you want to scan this QR code, you can get free native seed of a lot of different beautiful species. So you can get starting planting something right away without any money. If you want to go native, which is always awesome to support native species of plants, and they are beautiful and amazing, and I think will be a lot of fun for you. The other thing we don't think about, and nobody mentioned it before, and it's okay because I want to save it here, is thinking about the reproductive needs of your plants. Most plants benefit from animal pollination services. That is transferring pollen that contains gametes to fertilize eggs that actually produce fruits, right? Your flowers have ovules, and those ovules can develop into seeds in a fruit if it's properly fertilized. So if you've got a plant with flowers and you've got no bees in your yard, you're not going to get the tomatoes you want. You're not going to get the peppers that you were hoping for. So you also have to think about this requirement. What are the reproductive needs of my plants? And I know that that might sound a little crazy, but there are also things you can plant and do to support pollinators and invite them into your yard. So we'll wrap up with a couple quick things. This is a big old piece of wood with holes drilled into it. Most of the bees around here are solitary. So I want to blow your mind a little. There's more than 20,000 species of bees. The European honeybee is my least favorite. Okay? I have total confidence in saying that. It's an introduced species. It competes with our native bees. You also live in one of the most diverse bee locations in the world. The Southwest United States and the Mediterranean region are the most diverse bee places on our planet. And they will do a lot of good for you, and you can support them. Most of them are solitary females that nest. So you could drill a block like this. You could go get some invasive bamboo by the river, cut it into chunks that are about 6 inches long, tie it together with some string, set them out in a stable place in your yard. You might get bees in there. This is a really fancy one, and you can come up and check it out if you want in a bit. And you can do all kinds of stuff to try and invite them. The key to getting bees in your yard is to have a variety of flower colors, flower shapes, and to provide those over the entire flight season of your bees. So you want a nice combo of color and flower shape over the duration of the entire time you're trying to garden, and they will come. You build it, and they will come. I guarantee it. It's been such a pleasure with you. I'm out of time. If there's anything you want to come up and ask me about or talk about, I would absolutely love to continue this conversation. I hope that you try this and that you become so insanely addicted to it, because it will be a lot of fun, and it's something you can enjoy for the rest of your life. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.